Put your red shirt on and a brown coat too. Everybody's joining the crew. We got just one ring that we rule them all. Hope you'll remember your towels. Get your Uru feathers and your needler guns. A sonic screwdriver or a sword +1. Use Valerian steel if it will get you to come. To the big tank. To the big tank. The Rocky Mountain big tank.
Hi, I'm Guy.
Hi, I'm Troy.
And that's muted Alex.
Oh, no.
He's muted.
You're muted.
No, he's unmuted.
Hi, I'm Troy.
Hi, I'm Alex.
This is
Your Guys Freezing Up Again size podcast.
That's a terrible pause for him.
I know, that's terrible. But that's the kind of pause he tries to go for when he fakes being frozen.
Mm-hmm. Just got to let it happen.
Yep.
Just got to let it happen.
Yeah, I was going to say your 1d6 per 10, 1d6 damage per 10 feet of fall. So, yeah, you're totally bugging out there. You were fine until we went live.
Yeah, I had a problem too when it was coming up. It froze on the intro, and I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah. We already know we're in trouble when it's freezing on the intro.
Maybe you need to stop downloading stuff, Guy.
It's downloading porn.
Yeah. Non-stop.
Yeah. I've got 2 bars. 2 bars.
Yeah. Hey, we're getting actual complete sentences from you.
Oh, good. We're back. Wow. That was rough. It was a rougher thing than we thought it was going to be.
For your species.
For your species.
Good morning, Brent.
Hello,
Good
Brent.
morning, Brent.
Oh, cool. So over the weekend, Alex was at Colorado Anime Fest. So I assume the CO part of COF is the Colorado part. So and there's no other word for O in there. It's not Colorado Objective Anime Fest or something. It's
I don't
Objectified Anime
Colorado.
Fest.
Okay. So how was it? I know you weren't really attending. You were more working than attending.
I was working. Yeah. Let me see. They were saying that they had their best numbers ever.
Oh wow.
Something like something like a 30% increase since last time, which is really big. And I was working kind of the convention response team, so it's kind of like a convention security light, but not security because the security is hotel security. And interactions are mostly positive. Of course, you had a lot of you had some people just not wearing masks, even though they're supposed to wear masks, and some people pushing back on having to be COVID-19 vaccinated, even though, like, you have to basically check a box saying, I understand I need to provide proof of my COVID vaccine status and all that. And but no, for the most part, the interactions were positive. And though there were some buts, there always are.
Yeah. So was the rule supposed to be masks?
Yes.
Okay.
And then and so we were carrying around masks, and talking to people, and oftentimes, especially with people who you could kind of tell were old hats at conventions, sometimes not going the help us stop COVID route, and more like, do you want to go home with con crud route?
Right.
Worked pretty well.
I went home with con crud. I'm thinking I'm going to just wear masks from now on for that.
I'm assuming there was almost no mask wearing at the convention you were at a couple of weeks ago, Guy, where you came back with sickness.
That is pretty accurate.
Yeah.
That is a pretty accurate thing. I definitely came back with con crud, and there was very little mask wearing at all. I actually felt pretty bad because I met with a guy I like a lot, an artist that I admire. He does good work. His name is R. Allen Brooks. And in the beginning, I was wearing one of my masks, and he had commented to his partner about my masks. There's a whole bunch of little Grogus, and he liked the mask. And
Oh,
when I went to actually go talk to him, I'd forgotten my mask at my desk. And so he was like, I was just
me?
commenting about your mask. And I'm like,
Oops.
I'm not wearing it, am I? You know, it was kind of
Mhm.
one of those, I just spaced it out. And I felt like such an idiot, you know,
Mhm.
because I really admire what he does. I admire his work. He does some really good stuff. And I felt like just a complete idiot. But I talked to him later on Insta, and he seemed perfectly fine. I was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. And to boot, I felt kind of like I was doing the I haven't taken my Adderall ramble. So I just rambled on and
kind of like now.
like now.
Okay. Over weekend, Tara's brother and his wife and kids went to an anime festival, the Middle Tennessee Anime Convention, MTAC, in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh yeah.
And the pictures they posted looked like everybody's wearing masks, and that some. I told him, because his girls are into anime. I'm like, yeah, I know it's a long trip out here from New York, but you should come out in September and go to NDK. So.
Yep.
Of course, they're both teachers, so it's not easy to travel in the middle of September or at the beginning of September.
Yeah, that's true.
So from what I remember of, I kind of think it was either the first or the second Colorado Anime Festival that we covered. I can't remember the dates. I was trying to find our video on YouTube because the whatever interviews we did should have been there. It was Chelsea, yourself, and Guy and myself. So no idea.
I don't remember either. To be honest,
I'm gonna look up when their first one was. See if I can find it. But before we started, you mentioned you got some good shopping luck and found some stuff for your wife.
Oh yeah. I'm kind of lucky in some ways that most of my fandoms are pretty old, so I don't have. So there's like the stuff like the statues that cost hundreds of dollars or other swag that would be applicable. People don't sell because it got sold long ago. So I usually
Right.
hit up more of the artist alley stuff to cater to my fandoms, and I was able to find a few things for Lauren, which is actually kind of rare. So I found like in one of the artist alley booths, they had like a quad trick of like some kind of goth icons, and it was like a picture of Gaiman's Death, Elvira, Wednesday Addams, and I keep forgetting the character's name, but Winona Ryder's character in Beetlejuice. So since I was there, I picked up a couple other pieces. Lydia, and then so then I was picked up a couple more pictures from that person that were pretty cool, and then I found my wife's favorite anime is Samurai Champloo, and you don't see a lot of a lot of artist alley stuff for that. And I found like there's been a trend I've seen or have been starting to see in kind of artist alley stuff, instead of doing character portraiture, which is still very prevalent, that they'll do almost a more, and I want to say almost a more Asian inspired picture. And by that I mean that if you look at like a lot of European art, it's like, here's a portrait of a person, or here's a portrait of some people, or here's a portrait of this. And when you see a lot of classical Asian art, there will be figures, but there's often in a larger landscape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And having the figure be part of the natural world that they're kind of portraying. And so it's a picture of Samurai Champloo, the three primary characters in a field of sunflowers, and they're relatively small on this painting, and a mountain behind them and everything, and it's really, really cool.
Yeah, I remember the episode where I believe that they met Van Gogh or like crossed paths with him.
Yeah.
So that makes sense that they're in sunflowers.
Yeah, it's also kind of central to Fu's characters, that she's looking for the samurai that smells of sunflowers. And so, and I also found Lauren's has got a Sailor Jerry kind of style dress, and the picture patterns on it are cat sushi, cat as sashimi.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I found a stuffy of a kitty cat sashimi. and the
Nice.
cat looks very startled to be sashimi. So
That's the important part. The cat must be startled.
very startled. And then I picked up some just myself. I picked up a few pictures of that are just mostly original characters I thought looked really cool. And then for Nova, I picked up a couple little stuffies that are on ball chains so that she can put on her backpack or something. And
Nice.
but yeah, I was like, we're walking through the dealer's room working and also shopping and stuff. And I'm like, if I found like I don't know, like a Fist of the North Star, like cool battle pose, between Kenshiro and Rao, I'd probably get so excited I'd puke. Oh my God. So thankfully no puking happened from me.
Good. Looking on their history, it looks like their first one was in 2016, which sounds about right to me. I think we covered their first one.
I feel like we did too.
Because that was there's a time that Nick went and took a class at the pop culture culture classroom, and for drawing manga, and the teacher that was teaching him had a booth at the Colorado Anime Festival. So I think that's the correct timing. So
that sounds about right to me too.
I know that we've been kind of slow rolling out our convention coverage. So odds
we
are
haven't quite decided whether we were returning or not.
Odds are we'll most likely for 2023 be getting all of our letters out to conventions saying, "Hey, want us to cover your convention?"
We could do that. We're okay with that.
Well, so I had before we started, I mentioned the possibility of just talking about some D&D stuff. Hey, there's Brent's mentioning the Kansas City Comic-Con coming up this weekend.
Kansas City, that hub of
Yes.
comic and media business. Yes. Sorry.
So I wonder with the whole mess that was happening with the Comic-Con name, if Kansas City is officially part of that, or if they're writing that line of about to get sued for using the words Comic-Con.
Writing the line of, are we going to get in trouble for this?
Yeah, we've covered that one before, especially because now they're on a third name now because it went from Denver Comic-Con to
it got purchased by somebody else. So
Denver Pop Culture Con, and now it's and I can't remember what the new one is now.
Something X.
Expo. But it's Expo, yeah, because it's like they do a bunch of stuff, right? A Fan Expo. Fan Expo is what it's called now.
Yep, Fan Expo.
Stupid copyrighted name stuff. So, in any case, because you were covering the convention, you weren't at the D&D game on Saturday.
No, sadness. So much sadness.
I brought in a
D&D.
special guest NPC player, and I think it might be more fun for me to let Guy talk about it from his perspective as a player.
Well, so we've had the special guest this particular. Are you keeping that a secret, or are we just
from Alex?
The suspense? Yeah, I don't
No,
know.
Okay. I figured you like to talk, so I'd let you. No, I think it'd be neat to get your perspective because I know what I think. I don't know what you think.
So the special guest was none other than David Coyle, who we've had before on our show. And he's a wonderful fellow and a lot of fun. And he played specifically a very specific part in the game where he played. We all got captured trying to rescue Alex, and so of course, naturally, we all got captured trying to rescue Alex because that's the nature of things.
Yeah,
but
well, you got captured because the group decided that the best plan was to send in their two sneakiest people to this highly guarded anti-magic mansion to get more information.
Because what could possibly go wrong?
And by sneaking in was obviously the best way to get into this place where they've been invited into before and walked in through the front door and sat down and drank wine with the person.
Exactly. So naturally, that was our best option this time round too. Mm-hmm. So we did. So we got caught by the the young prince of this particular spot, who then tormented us for a good portion of the game. It was very entertaining.
Specifically tormented Mariah and June's character.
Yes,
the Goat Fox and
the ones
Kithri.
who tried to break in.
The ones who were breaking in and got caught. This was after midnight in the game, and going around through the hallways, they heard the sound of sword fighting. So of course they thought, "Oh, Gerard's in trouble. We must rescue Gerard." So they sneak down the hallways.
Gerard's been fighting for 18 hours.
Yes, that's a long time.
Fighting their way out one guard at a time.
Yep.
Her lust for blood will not be sated.
And then just before they turned the corner, they heard a 12-year-old boy shout, "I will make you lick my bunghole." And they cautiously peeked around the corner and see a 12-year-old sword fighting two guards, and quickly determined the guards are not fighting at their normal level of fighting and letting this kid win against them. And while they were distracted looking through the doorway, that's when a guard came around the corner and saw them and went over and it's like, "You two, you don't belong here." And like, no. Mariah's quick fast talk was, "No, we were looking for someone here who lives here because we have business with them." And then
we snuck in.
Yes, that's why we snuck in. Then they had to deal with the torment of the 12-year-old played by David.
It was very funny. And the saddest part is that, of course, we did not record it, which would have been like the ideal thing for us. And we didn't think about that.
Well, that's what made it so great. We knew it wasn't being recorded, so it had to be awesome. If we were recording, it would have sucked.
Yeah, it would have sucked.
Sure.
But yeah, it was a very funny and well executed episode, and I was very pleased that we did that. It was good.
Yeah, I could tell everybody had fun. And it's afterwards, because since I give June a ride home, she's like 20 minutes later, she's like, "I'm still like on edge by our encounter with what happened and disturbed by it." And
that's funny.
So yeah, this is a character that does not exist in the D&D canon, but there is a wiggle room within their storytelling that I found a way to fit this character in, and it makes sense. So
it was a good character.
So that was a lot of fun, and the next 2 weeks, David's not available, so for story writing purposes, you won't see this character again, probably.
Yeah, at least it's kind of a bummer because it was a good character. Is totally solid.
On the good news, most everybody is now together. You're just all in prison cells next to each other.
Yeah, we're all in prison cells together. That's a nice thing. So there's that, a thing. Hey, I actually wasn't going to get involved in any of that, but apparently that wasn't in the cards.
Well, you had the plan of trying to fly your when you were trying to come up with plans on how to do surveillance. You thought maybe flying your broom over the place would give you an aerial view, but then the question became, how high does the anti-magic field go, and how much damage could you take if you happen to fly over and fall into the compound?
Right. Well, of course, the whole thing was that she was like, "Well, we'll find out because I'll fly over it, and whenever I fall, that's how high it is." Because
sounds good.
It was a particularly funny thing. Might want to check out who's going.
Yes, the place where Ivy comes from doesn't have falling damage after all.
Yeah, nope. Well, I think a lot of what's going on with Ivy is that she, as a character, has spent an awful lot of time in a very bad situation, and so now she's like, "Hey, this is fun. It's like vacation the entire time," and so. A lot of it is that she just isn't aware that that's probably not a good idea to do X, Y, or Z, whatever it is.
That's why I sarcastically said she comes from a place with no falling damage. How would she possibly know
falling
that
damage.
Fall and get hurt?
Is exactly right. She has no falling damage.
She's never fallen before.
And I'd be fascinated to find out who's at the Planet Comic-Con. So
I'm looking it up.
Anyway, it was a great game. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
There's one point where, because Dave did a lot of great improv in it, and that was what was making it so funny. But at one point, someone had said something about his mother, and he of course said, "Keep my mother's name out of your bleeping mouth."
Yeah, it was
and then smacked him. So
Did you get to use any of those lines that I told you that my character would say? Seriously, kid, go ask your daddy for a roll of nickels.
yeah, at the moment, as far as they know, they have some pointless page boy in their jail cell.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, so there has not been
they're not smacking me around.
No,
that is hilarious.
Yeah, the person they're looking for, they have and don't know it, and are
Yep.
most likely going to let them go.
Awesome.
Again, that's the second time you've been in there. Yeah, I was telling Tara about it, and she was cracking up. She thought it was great. Yeah, it almost. Yeah, the Goat Fox almost was able to convince the kid to duel her, or duel him, and unfortunately, things were said, and that plan fell apart. And I guess I did leave out the part that Skiz is there too, because he's calling him a red goblin.
Yeah,
because he doesn't know what a kobold is. So
that.
Gaming wise,
Gates and John Delancey, huh?
Yeah,
that's
the problem with Kansas City is the
commute.
The commute's a bit of a pain.
Yeah,
and
I'll jump into your not van. Non-bannable van.
Mm-hmm. Well, with the Zoom, maybe they'll do a Zoom interview.
A Zoom review?
I'd take the seats out, put a mattress down, be like touring
Apparently,
a band.
Doesn't know that one.
Yeah, my old van would do that. One I got rid of. Gosh, what else others there? So D&D related, I'm on a few forums, and one person had brought up the question of which is better, and really this is subjective, so there is no better, of leveling through experience points versus leveling through milestones. And so the beef of the question came to the pitfalls of leveling with experience points is if you don't have a good GM who's giving experience points for lots of things and they're just focused on the did you kill the creature or not, you encourage then your group to kill as many things as possible and you get your murder hobos. Because if you're not giving experience points for talking your way out of rough situations, then that means all the clever characters are still level 1 and all the angry fighty characters are level 20.
It's usually the way it is with me. I'm always the level 1 character.
But
I was just talking a lot.
I don't have a ton of D&D experience, and I'm sure that the most I played, I'm assuming, was a few months in the game that our friend Mikey was running, Alex, and that was, I believe, 3.5. And I don't remember.
That was a while ago. Yeah.
I didn't play enough that experience and leveling really came into it.
Right.
Yeah. So, but you have a lot more D&D experience than I do, Alex. Is Milestone new to 5th edition, or did they start that a while back?
No,
no, because
I don't know officially or not. I don't know, but I've played in groups that have done Milestone or heard of groups doing Milestones for a long time. Probably, like close to like 20 years. One of the first times I heard about it, and I was like, oh, that's a really great idea, was somebody was doing a D&D game. It was based on the first big arc was the original Dragonlance Chronicles novels, and everyone was familiar with the novels and such, and so they were like, okay, yeah, well, the GM was like, so at certain milestones, like you in these story beats, you will get levels. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I like that. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And since then, I've heard about it more and more and more. So. Oh no! Yay.
Yeah, it's. I guess I figure there are some people who just really love doing the math, and some
addition.
people woo! Yeah, some people work a lot better with really strict structure. And so maybe by having everything clearly spelled out is what attracts them to that, or it could be tradition that they don't want to change. Because since I was 10 years old, I've been dealing with experience points, and I know that a goblin gives exactly this much experience points or something.
Which I'm sure that isn't something that appeals, I'm sure, quite a bit. Because I've noticed that there are people who are like, oh, come on. Everybody knows that a kobold has 22 hit points, and like, well, actually, not everybody, because I'm completely clueless about this.
Yeah, because obviously you just said a kobold has 22 hit points.
Yeah, like, okay.
I actually don't know how many hit points they have, but considering first level characters have like 10 hit points or something.
Right. And kobolds are usually the things you
wade through. Yeah, they're like a step above rats.
Yeah, they're the rats of D&D.
I'm liking this is the first time I've used Milestone leveling, having jumping in and running D&D 5th edition, and I am really liking it for the purposes of storytelling, because I can set things in chapters, and at the end of the chapter, that's when you guys level up, basically. And from the outside, it probably feels fourth wall breaking, because there's no incremental learning like you would in real life. You just all of a sudden have all these extra things. Yeah,
which is better now.
But the thing I found with role-playing games is the more realistic you make it, the way more complicated the rules get. With GURPS having the two different types of defenses, passive defense meaning that you're wearing armor, and active defensive meaning you're dodging, kind of thing. And things can get complicated that way. So with experience points, I think the game that I dealt with the most experience point concept would have been Earth Dawn, since we played that for years, and those were numbers just getting dumped into stuff. And our game master Dan did a great job of having multiple ways for you to get experience points, including if you wanted to keep a journal in character. So you're basically doing homework outside of the game for extra experience points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's actually part of Earth Dawn since first edition. And one thing about the Earth Dawn setting is that, or the system is that it is a blend of level based and incremental improvement. So it's not totally like D&D, where it's like, oh, I've been adventuring and I got enough points to get this level. We get this level, now I have a bunch of new abilities that I need to learn, and yada yada. And it's also not GURPS, where GURPS is like, okay, well, I saved up a bunch of points to get a plus an additional additional embetterment in whatever skill. Each level you get has certain abilities that you can put experience points into to improve. And in order to level up, you need to have a certain number of those previous abilities at a certain proficiency.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, lots of prerequisite style building up on stuff. And I kind of remember it having a thing too where you didn't have to level to learn new spells so much, but you but you
walking away.
Must be someone knocking on the door. A giant dragon just chomp.
Well, that's what always happens whenever people knock on the door in the middle of the show. It's always a giant dragon. I mean,
yeah.
Come on.
So
we all know that.
Yeah, exactly. So how did was it Robotech that you played the most of, Guy?
Yeah, I played Palladium's Robotech back in the day.
How did they deal with leveling up and experience and such?
It was straight up. It was exactly the way that I'm actually looking over here for the book, because I'm like, well, I know I have it right over here. Or maybe I don't have it over here. I have it over here, but I don't actually.
I feel like I should leave the camera now too. So our show is just
all of us are gone.
3 empty rooms. Yeah.
No, I can't see. I must have taken it to the other room. Anyway, yeah. So I played Palladium's Robotech, and that was kind of a cool thing. In that instance, though, it was because it comes from the 80s. It really is straight up you get 40,000 experience points, and if you're this class of person, then at 50,000, you go to level 2. If you're this class of person, then it's 37,000, you go to level 2. And if you're this class, it's, it's like whatever. And then that way, I think I feel kind of like that the method of doing that allowed it to be so that everybody got 500 experience points for killing this battle mech. And when you did, everybody got 500. And then some people were leveling up faster than others. And, so. But it was kind of complicated and weird. And I don't know. It was mathematically difficult. Which made it, not as much fun.
Right.
As it should have been.
For those who may have been wondering, since it was brought up, kobolds have 5 hit points.
You're just saying.
Just saying. I had to look it up. Yeah.
Yep.
So, but it's I think it's interesting how some people take what's written as that's it and there's no other alternative. When I like to try to bring at least a tiniest bit of realism into gaming, so not all of my creatures have exactly the same hit points, because then it's like a video game. It's like every goblin has 10 hit points. It's like, no, some are going to have 8, some are going to have 12. You can't just know the numbers. Things are going to change slightly with that, because they're not all unified. Just like all of your characters don't have exactly the same hit points.
Yeah. Well, I mean that makes some sense too. I mean,
is everything all right, Alex?
Yeah. We just had to discuss some stuff. Our main internet's down.
Yes.
And still have to do taxes and stuff. So we're discussing solutions. So,
like running away to another country.
Lauren's probably going to go and work on finish up the taxes at the library. Type of thing, as opposed to trying to use her phone as a tether as well.
Yes.
So
yeah, Tara put in for the extension because stuff's been crazy at her work, and she's like, I'm not going to have time to do it. And since she's got a CPA and is master's degrees in accounting, there's no reason to pay other people to do it.
Yeah, right. That makes sense. We've already done our taxes, so we're done.
Yeah. So while you were gone, we just hit a little bit on Palladium's leveling up system, since that was Guy's preferred system back in the day, and we circled back around to kobolds having 5 hit points, just in case somebody watching this was like, how many hit points do kobolds have? And so I looked it up, and then I was talking about how I don't.
That's a service, by the way, people. We have that service.
Yes.
Just for you.
I will Google search things for you if you
just for you. Yeah, but only if it's geeky.
Yeah. Or do like Alex does and sends you the link on how to search things up on Google.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's just a habit of pre-internet days, of just asking questions instead of realizing you can just look up the answer.
Maybe, but it is kind of lazy, I admit.
Yeah. Wrapping things back
Alex,
up.
how do you do X, Y, or Z, Alex?
Yeah. How do I figure out Thaco? You got to look on the internet, because I'm not going to tell you.
First, I'm going to go get my sword.
Yes.
Right. Then I'm going to go to your house. And then I'm going to hit you until you look it up on Google.
David, bringing it back up to our guest, David, that we had for that. I remember having a conversation once at dinner about how he misses the conversation aspect of, hey, who was that actor in that movie? Before, you'd have to sit there and brainstorm with the person you're talking to and kind of try to get to the answer if neither of you thought that. Whereas now you can just pull out your phone and go, oh, okay, that's who this was. And
that makes some sense. I agree. There is a certain amount of, because something popped up the other day where it's like the different story is now that we all sort of take a guess, who was that actor and blah, blah, blah. It was blah. Oh, no, it was blah. Like, you kind of want to race before somebody pulls out their phone and, starts typing it up. And, you're like, no, it was blah. It was blah. Oh, crap. It wasn't.
So it's like a trivia game now instead of, no, it was the other guy with the weird nose. And
with the weird nose. What is his problem? Yeah.
Until the internet, something that always bothered me is John Carpenter's The Thing, which is a movie that's
That bothers me
amazing.
too.
There was a scene before the Thing had actually infiltrated the base and started killing people, where they're showing you daily life inside of the Antarctica compound.
Right.
And there's like a character cooking and someone else doing another thing. And in the background, they are playing Stevie Wonder's There Is Superstition. The first time I saw this movie, which was at a drive-in theater. Later on, a couple of years later, once it hit VHS and I'm watching it again, that song's not there. It was some other song, and it started to drive me crazy. I'm like, I could have sworn it was because I don't know this song, but I know that song. Why is that song not here? Did I imagine it? Years later, when we get Google, I look it up. There was a copyright problem. They had not properly secured the rights to the Stevie Wonder song, so they had to replace it. But nobody I would talk to could remember the Stevie Wonder song, and like, oh, you're just remembering it wrong. So
right. And that's always one of those things, kind of another one of those fascinating. Did I remember it wrong? It's called the Mandala Effect. And it's, you are sure that something happened. For example, for a long time, we had the little records that the storybook records that came with Star Wars.
LP
yeah, and they were 45s.
45s.
They were 45s. They were little. And they had we had the Star Wars one when I was a really little kid, and in it was retelling the story of Star Wars. So it talks about the two droids, going through the hallway of Princess Leia's, tent of 4. And the explosions are rocking it, and they've got the voice actors to come back in and do stuff. So they have Anthony Daniels doing the lines, but he says different lines. And so for years, I thought that scene had different lines, and I would watch the actual episode 4 and go, I'd swear these aren't the lines. These aren't the lines, And I actually still to this day will say it because, it's, this is madness. Beep, beep, pew. We're doomed, was the lines that he said. But he never says that in the movie. He says them in a different order. He says the same things, but that was a truncated, shortened version.
You would listen to the record far more than you had seen the movie. So that's
because back in 1979, it was expensive to go see the movie, So it was pretty funny. But anyway, it was the same thing. It's definitely it's called the Mandala Effect, and it is a thing that actually
in this case, you weren't misremembering.
I wasn't misremembering.
And in my case, I wasn't.
I haven't heard that record since 1979, so now I might be. I mean, the line might be completely different. Mm-hmm. That's another thing that's interesting. Things that we did when we were children, a lot of those things are gone now because of us Gen Xers. Like those record things, those were a completely different recording with different dialogue and different everything. And I haven't heard it since the 70s, maybe early 80s. I don't know how long it was before those records died.
So are you talking about the technology changing, or are you talking about
technology's changing, and those records, of course, are gone now, of course, or whatever. I'm sure that we can find them, but I don't have one. But I did find about 2 months ago or 3 months ago, I was like, I remember I had a cassette tape of the Smurfs All-Star Show. And, every so often, because their songs are pervasive, I'd start singing one of those songs from the Smurfs All-Star Show in my head while I'm working or whatever. I just sit here and hum it. And I was like, I wonder. And I found an MP3 out there. Somebody had recorded the whole damn thing. So I'm playing it, and my wife walks in and goes, "The hell is it?"
It's somewhere in our tape collection, which I don't know why we still have. Tara has the soundtracks to the Aristocats.
The Aristocats. I love that. That was, we are Siamese. Please. Oh yeah,
that wasn't a problematic.
Lady and the Tramp.
The Aristocats was
Aristocats was different.
Yeah.
Ella Note.
It's good to be a
No,
cat because a cat's the only cat
that's-
who knows where it's at.
That's it. There was a time where my kid was way into Aristocats, and he watched it like 62 times. And so,
but this is all just technology, because like I remember when I was my kid's age, I had this really small portable blue tape recorder, and my stupid fun was like recording dialogue for Star Wars figures to have combats too, and then playing it back and redoing it.
Back, yeah.
And of course it was horrible quality. Both the quality of the writing and script reading and voice acting, as well as the tape itself. But it was just the fun stuff. And now today, my guys are using like Scratch and Adobe Premiere and slapping together their own little stuff. And
yeah, it's amazing how things have changed because of the PC. Because that was exactly what we did. My cousin and I had the Ghostbusters soundtrack, and so what we would do is we'd take my grandmother bought all three of us identical boom boxes because it was the early 80s and everybody had boom boxes. So we had these little gray boom boxes. So what we would do is we'd sit them face to face and hit record on one and play on the other to dub songs. And then we would like pull the thing away and dub our own words in and then put them back together again. So we'd have our own little words in the middle of those. And of course they were all bad words because we were like 8. So we were trying to say every bad word because we knew that she would never figure out how to hit play and figure out how to make it work. She didn't understand it. So we were safe.
So
at
so
funny.
10:46, we should do our little plug.
Yep, we should do our plug. Let's thingy over here, and here we go. Geek Tank is sponsored by Kieran Games, Geekway Homes, and your mom.
And,
okay, so
before we roll on, there's also Starfest coming up.
And Starfest,
May 13th, 14th, 15th. So there. Now, what did you say, Guy?
I was going to ask if you saw Kieran Games at Co-op. I don't know if.
Do you know Chris with Kieran Games, Alex?
I don't, and I don't recall seeing a gaming sale table or anything.
I have not actually ever heard if Kieran Games ever applied for. It doesn't seem like his style. So
it's an anime convention, and although he has like some Pokemon cards, the majority of his stuff is more miniature related, hero clicks related, and board game such
and etc.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's not his target audience.
Yeah.
Although there's crossover fandoms.
Yeah. Speaking of Pokemon, like the cohort I was a part of are all people I have worked with and know from Mile High Con. And it was pretty funny. They were like, a couple of them were like, oh yeah, we just sent these Pokemon, PJ things to do for the dead dog, and we should all do like a Pokemon theme for like next time we're working a con together. And I'm like, I am familiar with Pokemon. I have played Mewtwo and Smash Brothers Melee. I know this is not my fandom. I've never played the games, never watched the show, never played the card game. I just don't know. And they're like, okay, well, we've got to find a Pokemon for you. And I'm like, okay, my colors are blue, black, and white. I'm like, okay, are there any cool Pokemon out there? Any cool ones? Any ninja ones? Yeah, they all have ninja. And then I'm like, oh, that's dumb. Is there a samurai one? That one looks dumb. Got a wolf one? That one looks like a furry. I'm not, and I am also no offense to furries, because I'm not trying to offend it. I'm not a furry.
It's not your thing. You need to be a trainer, because then you can just be you.
But then I was like, okay, well, what, are there any cool trainers? Like I know about Ash, which is a no. I know about Team Rocket, also no. It's like, well, what about this trainer, that trainer? I'm like, after a while, I was just like, I'm getting kind of tired of shooting you down on all this.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should pick a fandom that we all at least know and enjoy somewhat. Because we'd already been talking about other stuff like Last Airbender and Cowboy Bebop and other things. So I think what we might do for Mile High Con is all syndicate outfits from Cowboy Bebop, which would be cool.
All syndicate.
So when they were talking Pokemon costumes, did they mean like bulky straight up Pokemon, or just
No,
learn the colors?
they had found like two of their favorite each of them have found their favorite Pokemon, like in like the whole like onesie pajama style that you see, like the big pajamas that I've seen people wear all over the place, and that's what they were talking about.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
then of course, and if you know the Pokemon, you're like, oh, that's whatever Pokemon, and in your head will be like an image of said Pokemon.
Hmm.
I just I'm being like, I'm sorry, people,
Yeah.
this is not my fandom.
Yeah. Terran made his the Pokemon trainer that Terran was his own trainer he came up with. He's like, if I was a trainer, this is what I would be, not this is a trainer from the cartoon that I like type thing.
Right.
Right.
That's kind of clever, actually.
And we had found a Pokédex, battery powered Pokédex thing at the Goodwill for like $4, and that's what created the idea in his mind. He's like, oh, I've got this cool prop. Now all I need to do is get some clothes that look like Pokemon trainer clothes.
Right.
And that's what he wore at NDK last year, along with the actual Pikachu costume.
Yeah, he went around wondering. That's very.
He loved it. He loved all the attention.
And now Alex is marching to his own beat.
Yeah, I was trying to think of
The
what
Fitbit demands steps.
I think the only cool character, and I don't remember if he was a trainer or just a character that was traveling with him. I think he was a trainer. Was Brock, because I always imagined the actor French Stewart playing him from Third Rock from the Sun, but because he was the only character who wasn't like constantly screaming or crazy in that. But then you could
like screaming or crazy.
But of course, saying that now makes me want to see Brock Sampson as a Pokemon trainer.
Right. That was actually what I expected you to be talking about. Was kind of going there in my head.
He doesn't actually use Pokemon. He just jumps into the fight himself.
Jumps into the fray all by himself. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So I like, by the way, I was going to comment on your lighting over there because you're just like this, like face. You look like you should be singing Queen songs. Is this so
I see a little moose in Canada.
Scarab moose. Scarab. I don't know.
No, I actually went to the sword fighting group yesterday.
Yes, I heard.
Try it out. And this morning, Tara's like, "You look burnt or dead," and I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't put on sunblock because I'm an idiot." So you got a bit of burnedness.
So how was it?
It's okay. I don't think my body's ready for it.
Yeah, that's where I am. I want to return, but I don't think I'm ready yet.
But and part of that is the fact that
the teachers really, in that particular group, the teacher's pretty demanding, and sometimes
I wasn't there.
Jerk.
Yeah,
I don't stuff.
June's going to be mad at you when she sees this. Yeah, we did.
In general,
we practiced, joint locks and stuff, and then we did some standard sword stuff. But before that, going, I think pushing myself, trying to like jog around the circle area thing, which I assume is something you do at the beginning of each class, since June had us do it.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
I think that was part of my body is like, you haven't done cardio in an amount of years that I can't count, so start softer.
You should have walked.
Yeah. I did walk some of it, but
he actually makes me walk.
But that's one of my problems I've always had is I hit a point where I really should stop doing stuff, but part of my brain tells me keep going because this is not your wall. You haven't hit the wall yet.
Mm-hmm.
That actually is exactly what happened last time I was in the class. I pushed way too hard and popped something in my back.
But so Dan, having taught me for a couple of years, pointed that out to me. Is like you do stuff too much. I appreciate the enthusiasm, but you need to know your limits better.
Yeah. I found a martial home for Nova, and I'm training there as well these days. And I find that I also push myself really hard, but also it's like if I'm working out on my own, I can be like, yeah, whatever, I'm just gonna do my thing. And if as I'm building things up, I'm like, I'm gonna do these things, but like in the dojo setting, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and like the first couple classes, I really did overdo it quite a bit, and now I still overdo it, but I'm better now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine now. How are you?
I had recently started rewatching some of the Penn and Teller's BS. I'll say BS since we're PG-13, but the name of the show is not BS. They do the whole word, 2 words there. But they did one on martial arts, and it was depressing to watch because of how accurate it was. It was looking at the statistics of the amount of money you will spend and the injuries that you will suffer training in martial arts versus the amount of injuries you'll suffer on average through your life from actual fights.
Right.
And I'm like, it's so true. My 2 major surgeries I've had was from training and screwing my knees up. And the one having to go to the hospital one time from the one fight, all I had to get was like 5 stitches. So the cost is huge, and I definitely have been injured far more in training than I have in real life, and that's having actually have been in a fight that I didn't win by my definition. So
Right. By your standards.
yes, amount of damage dealt out, which was 0, other than whatever damage I caused to them by them hitting me, or whatever damage my blocks did to their attacks, versus the damage they did to me. I think I was 22. I forget the exact age, but that was one of those moments in my life where I realized, hey, knowing all this stuff and being willing to use it are 2 very different things.
Yeah.
I have
in
often
your
said
head.
that the willingness to harm another person is more important than knowing how to.
Mm-hmm. And at that point in my life, I was not willing to hurt those people, even though they were actively trying to hurt me.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I'm trying to keep all of that in mind. Like when I was there yesterday, is the like you don't need more injuries for both the pain and the money costs that will happen. So no air techniques. But it was fun.
That's still kind of my problem when I go back to class, is I get in there and then I get in the zone. And once I'm in the zone, I'm actually pretty happy. And then I come home and everything's popped out and things are hurt and I'm hurting for days and I can't sleep. And, it's like, oh. So for the moment, I'm still kind of holding off returning, which I know is not making Alex exceedingly happy.
Yeah, it's your life, dude.
Yeah. See, I don't have any overhead, so
yeah, exactly.
If you don't show up, I'm not suddenly having to like move the school.
I wasn't necessarily going that way, but okay.
Yeah, I don't.
As in, I think as my friend, not as some entrepreneur, I think that Alex is kind of wanting me to return to class, and that's what I mean. As in, I think we've got better things to do with our life.
Think about it. It's that balance of if returning to class is going to be healthier for you than not returning to class, then that would be the concern. But if returning to class is going to make things less healthy for you, then returning to class is probably a bad idea.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we all need to be. I mean, we all need to be healthier.
Yeah.
We all need to.
That's why
drop some weight, and we all need to have maintain a certain minimum amount of activity to maintain health.
Yep.
I mean, I mean, especially since I'm coming off a con, so kind of like a lot of the how shall we say,
fandom
politeness subroutines are being bypassed. So, but yeah, and I mean, if you are going to say that you want to train, then get to a place where you can train. If you're not going to get to a place where you can train, quit talking about like you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well,
yeah, I like your suggestion of just letting everybody know where I'm at and not to push me, kind of thing, and just do what I can. But I think being there
somewhat directed at me to stop talking about training. So,
but overall, it was cool. I got to meet the 2 new people who I didn't know, and then of course Greg I already knew. But yeah, they were all really polite and awesome students to train with.
Cool. I'm assuming you got to meet Eli and Dylan.
Yes, those are the other 2.
Yeah.
But cool, yeah. And then I broke Dylan's cross guard without touching it.
Did it with your
My
mind.
We were doing a Remy, and the vibrations of when I hit his blade to knock the sword out of the way, his cross guard shot in 2 different directions.
Oh my god!
And I'm like, and I didn't think I'd hit it that hard. But he said, no, it was already split. I'm like, okay, good. But I'd never seen that before, when hitting someone's blade and then having their guard just shoot off in 2 different directions.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm gonna dig out a cross guard from my collection and bring it next time and give it to him. It's like, this one won't break. It's rubber. It's not plastic.
That's pretty funny.
But yeah,
Like,
Mariah
I've
was
had several guards that break, but only because they were being hit a bunch.
a bunch. Yeah. Having one break that wasn't touched was interesting. But I was glad to know, because Mariah had asked me how long it had been since I'd done sword stuff, and I'm like, last time I did sword stuff was like 3 years ago, when I took my foam weapons out to Kentucky for a visit and was showing the nephews and nieces some stuff. But she's like, you look like you haven't stopped training from the sword stuff. I'm like, well, swords my jam. I like swinging. I like swinging solid objects at other people and stuff. So.
My name's Alex, and I'm a swordsman.
I like swords.
I'm addicted. Welcome to Quinaria.
Yep. Well, cool. We went all over the place at the end there, which is our way.
It's our way.
This is the way.
So, okay, well, I guess that is kind of all the time we have for today, though. So we'll see you next week. Until then, I've been Guy.
I've been Troy.
And I've been Alex.
And this is Geek Tank.
My mouse went to the other screen, and this is Geek Tank.
And this is Geek.